1,000-pound sister shock. Chris Combs rushed to hospital as Tammy Slaton reacts to health crisis.
Today,
the air in Dixon, Kentucky, has always been thick with humidity and the scent of magnolias, but recently, it has been thick with worry. The Slaton family, forever a whirlwind of chaotic love and fierce loyalty, has once again been thrown into a tailspin. This time, however, the health crisis didn't center on Tammy Slaton or Amy Slaton, the stars of TLC's hit show, 1,000-Pound Sisters. This time, the emergency siren wailed for the family's rock, the anchor of the ship, Chris Combs. News broke earlier today that Chris Combs was rushed to a local hospital. Details are scarce, but the urgency of the situation sent shockwaves through the tight-knit family and their legions of fans. For a man who has been the pillar of strength for his sisters, often acting as the stern but loving father figure they desperately needed, this event has been a terrifying role reversal. The Slatons are no strangers to medical emergencies. The show has chronicled their brutal battles with weight, food addiction, and the myriad of health complications that come with extreme obesity. But this feels different. This feels personal for the man who spent years telling Tammy to get it together and who finally achieved his own remarkable health goals. To truly understand the gravity of today's events, one must understand the man at the center of them. Chris Combs has been the unsung hero of 1,000-Pound Sisters. While the cameras often focused on the tumultuous relationship between Tammy and Amy, Chris was in the background, providing a grounded, no-nonsense presence. He was the one who would call Tammy out on her excuses, refusing to enable her self-destructive habits. In the early seasons, Chris was often seen struggling alongside his sisters. He too was trapped in the cycle of obesity, battling diabetes and weight-related issues. He once had a severe medical emergency involving a boil on his leg that knocked him off his feet, causing him to gain 40 pounds. In a candid moment, he admitted he was terrified of being dropped as a patient by his doctor. That fear, that vulnerability, made him relatable. He wasn't just a commentator on his sister's struggles, he was living the same nightmare. However, unlike Tammy's repeated resistance to change or Amy's frantic attempts to balance motherhood and health, Chris channeled his fears into a quiet determination. He underwent weight loss surgery and became a beacon of success. He lost over 150 pounds and began running 5K races. He was living proof that change was possible. He was the success story the family needed. But as the old adage goes, the hardest person to save is often the one who is saving everyone else. While Chris was busy holding his family together, who was holding him together? Recent weeks have shown a troubling trend for the reality star. Fans have been quick to notice a physical change in Chris. If you have been following the Slatons on social media, you might have noticed the murmurs in the comment sections of their posts. In recent months, Chris Combs has looked heavier. Speculation ran rampant on Reddit and Twitter, with fans concerned that he might be backsliding. Some suggested he had gained a significant amount of weight, with rumors claiming he admitted to gaining back 65 pounds. Everything for him revolves around food, one fan commented, highlighting a concerning pattern. Celebrations, milestones, enjoying himself, always talking about having barbecues and family dinners. The observation is a poignant one. For many who undergo bariatric surgery, the physical weight loss is just the beginning. The mental struggle, the food addiction, is a lifelong war. Chris has a dream of owning a food truck and a catering business. This passion for food, which is supposed to be his livelihood, has also been his life's greatest adversary. The weight gain, if true, could be a sign of relapse into old habits, a stress response to the immense pressure of being the patriarch of a family steeped in dysfunction. Is it possible that the stress of Tammy's recovery, the drama with Amy's legal troubles, and the general chaos of the show's production have finally taken their toll on Chris's mental health? The pressure to be the strong one is immense. He has always been the disciplinarian, the one who tells Tammy to stop playing bullshit games. But what happens when the disciplinarian needs discipline himself? What happens when the pillar begins to crumble? The Slaton family trauma runs deep. Before Chris's hospitalization today, Tammy Slaton was arguably the family's greatest health concern, a constant source of anxiety for Chris. The family has walked through the valley of the shadow of death with Tammy before. Just over a year ago, the world watched in horror as Tammy's lungs gave up. In the season 3 finale, she was rushed to a hospital after her oxygen levels dropped to a critical level. She had quit breathing, Chris recalled. They didn't know if she was going to make it through the night. The images of Tammy in a medically induced coma, her body shutting down, are seared into the minds of viewers. Amanda Halterman was told to prepare to make funeral arrangements. Amy was left praying for a miracle. And Chris was the one who had to deliver the grim news to the world while simultaneously trying to keep his own emotions in check. I stayed 4 days or so up there, and then the last day we were there, she woke up, Chris said later, his voice heavy with relief. The emotional toll of watching his sister nearly die, of having to picture a life without her, was a burden he has carried silently. Tammy eventually woke up, had a tracheotomy, and began the grueling process of recovery. She lost an astounding 115 pounds in 30 days following the scare. It was a miracle, but that experience left deep psychological scars on the entire family. When Chris held his sister's hand in that hospital room, he promised himself he would never let this happen again. He took on the role of protector, the enforcer of the diet and lifestyle rules. But being the enforcer is a lonely job, and it often means neglecting your own plate. This morning, that dynamic shifted. The frantic calls weren't about Tammy. They were about Chris. Information is limited, but the fact that the news has broken on social media indicates the severity of the situation. Paramedics were called to the Combs residence, or possibly a public location, and Chris was taken to the hospital. As the news filtered out, the family's reactions began to surface. Tammy Slaton, who has faced so much adversity herself, had to come to terms with the fragility of her brother. In the quiet hours since the news broke, we can only imagine the scene. The silence of the waiting room, the sterile smell of disinfectant, the beeping of hospital monitors. This is a reality the Slatons are intimately familiar with, but this time, the patient is the one who used to be the visitor. Imagine Tammy, who has been fighting so hard to be independent and healthy, feeling helpless. Chris was her ride or die, the one who drove her 3 hours to see the doctor, the one who refused to let her give up. To see him laid low by a medical emergency is a devastating blow to her stability. If the strongest person in the family can fall ill, where does that leave everyone else? To understand why this news hits so hard, we need to look at the medical history that haunts Chris. The concern isn't just about a random illness. It's about the ticking time bomb that is the Slaton gene. Chris has been open about his battles with diabetes. He was once pre-diabetic and struggling with high A1C levels, just like his wife, Brittany. The family struggles with a history of poor health, and the reliance on ultra-processed foods has been a recurring theme on the show. A recent video posted by Chris highlighted a 5K run he was participating in. The celebration of his success was meant to be an inspiration. However, viewers couldn't help but notice how different he looked from his thinnest days. The speculation regarding a 65-pound weight gain is a red flag for anyone who has had bariatric surgery. Weight gain after surgery can lead to a host of complications: blood pressure spikes, heart strain, and diabetes relapse. His wife, Brittany, just successfully underwent weight loss surgery to combat her own diabetes, and it was Chris who was her biggest cheerleader. He motivated her to give up soda and bring down her A1C levels. Was he so focused on her success that he forgot to safeguard his own? The irony is heartbreaking. Chris, the ultimate cheerleader for the family's health, might have been suffering in silence. He allowed himself to be the fixer, perhaps using food as a coping mechanism for the stress of the show, the stress of his family, or perhaps the stress of his own past. The most poignant part of today's saga is Tammy Slaton's reaction. For years, Tammy was the one who was infantilized. She was the one who had to have a tracheotomy, the one who was told she was going to die. She was the project. Chris was the manager of that project. But in the face of Chris's emergency, the roles have shifted. Tammy is no longer the helpless patient. She is the sister who is terrified of losing her brother. Sources close to the family suggest that Tammy is devastated by the news. She's been on her own journey of self-improvement, losing substantial weight, and even recently getting engaged to her fiancé, Andrea Dalton. However, a recent social media post showed her battling illness. She is experiencing her own physical fragility. But seeing Chris vulnerable is a different kind of pain. Tammy has often been criticized for her selfishness, for throwing tantrums when she didn't get her way. But there have always been glimmers of deep love for her siblings. When Chris called her out about her enablers, she might have been angry, but she always listened eventually. She knows that Chris is the only one who tells her the truth, the one who loves her enough to be the bad guy. The anxiety of potentially losing a brother is amplified by the fact that Tammy has already lost so much. She lost her husband, Caleb Willingham. While the relationship was tumultuous, the loss was profound. It proved that even with the best intentions, rehab marriage, the real world is harsh. To have to face the possibility of another close male figure in her life being hospitalized is triggering for Tammy. It brings back the trauma of feeling completely out of control, of standing by helplessly while someone you love fights for their life. "I'm grateful," Tammy often said after her own medical miracle. "Good looking out up there, today." She might be looking up again, asking for another miracle. But this time, the prayer is not for herself. It is for the man who has always carried her. Let's not forget the other members of the family. Tammy Slaton, who has been dealing with her own legal troubles and the struggles of raising two young boys, has another reason to worry. She has looked to Chris for support during her own difficult pregnancies and personal crises. The bond between Amy and Chris is strong. He was the one who was often caught in the middle of the Amy-Tammy drama, trying to be the peacekeeper. Amy has faced high-risk pregnancies and postpartum depression. She needs Chris. He is the steadying hand. The thought of him being in a hospital bed is enough to send her anxiety spiraling. And then there is Brittany, Chris's devoted wife. She just successfully had her own weight loss surgery. She was in the middle of her own recovery, looking forward to a long, healthy life with Chris. Now, she must be terrified. She must be sitting by his bedside, holding his hand, wondering if the man she built a life with is going to be okay. The dynamic of the Combs household is also one of great expectations. Chris is a grandfather, a husband, a brother, a son. He is the patriarch. In a family that has struggled with so much chaos, he was the order. His health crisis isn't just a medical issue, it's a threat to the stability of the entire family structure. The Slatons have often been accused of being reality TV train wrecks. They are loud, they fight, they eat poorly. But they're also a family dealing with generational trauma. They grew up in a household marked by poverty and lack of education regarding nutrition. Chris has often talked about wanting to provide a better life for his family. He wants to see his grandchildren grow up. He wants to get his food truck dream off the ground. But the fear is that he is so busy trying to provide a future that he is neglecting his present health. The enabler dynamic is a two-way street. While Chris firmly called out Tammy for her enablers, he is the one who often provides the food for the family gatherings. He is the barbecue king. It is his love language. The very thing that brings the family together, food, is also what threatens to tear them apart. This is the ultimate psychological trap for the Slaton family. The filming of 1,000-Pound Sisters is relentless. While they are living their lives, they are also being recorded. The editing, the public scrutiny, the social media trolls, it is a high-stress environment. Chris was, arguably, the most stable person in the cast. But that stability must have been exhausting. He was the one who always had to be on. He was the one who had to react to Tammy's drama with a stern but composed demeanor. Could the camera pressure have contributed to a stress relapse? When you are famous, your flaws are magnified. Knowing that the world is watching you, waiting for you to fail, can push a person towards self-destructive behaviors. The weight gain, the stress, the potential health crisis, it might all be the result of years of trying to keep the pieces of his family together under the hot glare of the studio lights. There is a specific irony that Chris's medical emergency comes at a time when the family is actually celebrating some huge successes. Season 8 has been a season of triumphs. Brittany finally qualified for weight loss surgery, and she looks healthier and happier. Tammy is slimmer and engaged. Chris was supposed to be the one enjoying these victories, not lying in a hospital bed. Without a definitive diagnosis, we can only speculate about what Chris is facing. However, based on his history, there are several potential scenarios. Chris has struggled with high blood pressure in the past. As he gained weight, the strain on his heart would have increased. A heart attack or hypertensive crisis is a terrifying possibility. Despite his surgery, if he has gained back a significant amount of weight and is eating poorly, his A1C levels could have spiked again. Uncontrolled diabetes can lead to diabetic ketoacidosis or dangerous infections. Rapid weight loss and weight gain weight cycling can cause gallstones. It is common for bariatric patients to have gallbladder issues later on. A severe gallbladder attack can mimic a heart attack in terms of pain. The weight of excess fat puts pressure on the lungs. Sleep apnea is a common issue for people with excess weight. If Chris was having trouble breathing, similar to Tammy's experience, it would necessitate immediate hospitalization. While not a physical ailment in the traditional sense, severe stress and burnout can cause physical symptoms. If his weight gain is correlated with depression, he might have been physically depleted. It is often said that stress kills, and in the Slaton family, there is plenty of stress to go around. Today's news broke on social media. In an era where Chris updates fans via YouTube and Tammy shares TikToks, the lack of an official statement is deafening. Usually, Chris is the one who keeps fans updated on Tammy's status. To see him silent is jarring. Fans have taken to platforms like Reddit to express their concern. "Prayers up for Chris," one fan wrote. "He is the best part of the show." Another commented, "I hope he is okay. He deserves a break." But social media is a double-edged sword. As Chris lies in the hospital, the same platforms that offer prayers are also filled with speculation. Is it true he gained weight? He looked bad in the last episode. While the fans mean well, the constant scrutiny likely adds an immense layer of stress. Tammy is active on social media, but she has been quiet today. This silence is telling. She is often vocal about her struggles. If she is silent, it might mean she is too overwhelmed to even engage. This is a family that has lived their lives in the public eye. Their pain is our entertainment. But in moments like this, the parasocial relationship becomes heavy with real, human emotion. It doesn't matter that we watch them on TV. We see the love, the fear, the raw desperation. Despite everything, there is a reason the Slatons have become a beloved reality TV family. They are fighters. When Tammy was given a 50-50 chance of survival after her lungs gave out, she came back swinging. She woke up from her coma, got a tracheotomy, and lost over 100 pounds. She is the definition of resilience. Amy fought through a high-risk pregnancy. She faced the struggles of motherhood in front of millions, and she kept going. Amanda has faced her own health scares, having issues with blood pressure that have landed her in the hospital. She has been upfront about how terrifying it is not knowing what is wrong with her body. And Chris is the original fighter. He fought to lose weight. He fought to keep his family together. He fought against enabling his sister. He has never shied away from a battle. As of this writing, the prognosis for Chris Combs is unknown. What is known is that this health scare is a critical crossroads. If Chris survives and recovers, and we hope with all our hearts that he does, this will have to be the turning point. He cannot sustain this level of stress while potentially backsliding into old habits. He has fought so hard to lose the weight and live a healthier life. But he has to remember that health isn't just about surgery, it's about maintenance. He has to consider seeking therapy for his relationship with food. He has to start prioritizing himself the way he prioritizes his sisters. His wife, Brittany, just achieved a major weight loss victory. They are supposed to be growing old together. They have grandchildren to see get married. They have a future to build. This is also a wake-up call for Tammy. The woman who is always screaming about needing a B*TCH cyst is going to have to grow up a little more. She's going to have to realize that Chris is not Superman. He has vulnerabilities too. She might need to step up and be the support system for him now. There is a scene in the show where Chris is driving Tammy to the hospital and she is struggling to breathe. He is scared, but he stays calm. He is the one in control. Today, the roles are reversed. Tammy is the one waiting. It is her turn to be the strong one, to sit by the bedside and tell him that he is going to be okay. This hospitalization is a stark reminder of the fragility of life. Reality television often glamorizes the weight loss journey, but it fails to capture the terrifying aftermath, the the relentless maintenance, and the psychological scars that obesity leaves behind. Chris Combs has been more than just a supporting character on 1,000-Pound Sisters. He has been the moral compass. He has been the viewer's connection to the reality of the situation. When he calls Tammy out, we cheer because we know he is right. To see him battling a health crisis shatters the illusion that losing weight